Hey everyone, it is Coach Jen with Academic Coaching for World Changers, and I am joined today by one of our most current passers, Miss Heather Fox. Heather recently took the NCE on July 16th, and she is now a LPC, depending on the state you're in. In Texas, it's an LPCA. I'm so happy to share this space with Heather because she was recently one of my students in coaching, and again, she passed her exam. So, Heather, would you be able to talk a little bit about yourself and share your experience with the NCE as well as like anything you want the viewers to know?
Yes. Hi everyone. I'm so happy to be here. This is ultimately my goal. I took the NCE twice, and each time I failed by 5 points, and I was absolutely devastated. But I was like, "What am I missing? What do I need to do?" And so I followed the Academic World Changers on Facebook, and I was told to do some private tutoring, and that's what I did. And I did a couple of sessions, and she told me what I was missing, and here I am. I passed.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, so you joined our cohort. Well, it wasn't a cohort. You did individual sessions with me back in early or late June, early July, right before your testing. How many sessions did you do with me?
I did two of them.
Oh, okay, two sessions. And what were some of the things that you found that were helpful while you were doing your studying on your own, as well as like the studying we were doing together in the time we met?
The first thing that was pointed out to me is that I wasn't studying enough. I was only originally studying for like an hour a day, and then you told me to start studying 3 hours a day and break it up. And so once I started that, I started retaining more.
Yeah, so usually for clients, because you have two little girls, it's hard to find time to really sit in and get in those 3 hours a day. And a lot of clients, before they come to us, either they're not studying enough or they are lumping those 3 hours all together. And I always tell clients like there is no way you can pass this exam or learn or retain the information if you're trying to do it all in one setting. I like to liken it to trying to swallow an elephant whole, and no one ever survives when they try and swallow an elephant whole. So, one of the things we do recommend with academic coaching for world changers is the 90 days, 3 hours a day, the 7 days a week, and breaking up those 3 hours and not trying to engorge yourself with the knowledge because it's not going to stick. We got to learn a lot of names, we got to learn a lot of content and context and all the things, and we have to remember that it's a reading test. So we don't want to infer too much meaning, nor do we want to overread or add in things that are not being asked in the question. Did you find that when you were doing your exam that you were inferring the material or inferring information into the question, or did you just take it as it being like a reading test? And how did that work for you?
I felt like kind of both. There was like a lot of information and things that you do need to know. But like when I was reading the question, I noticed that before I did the tutoring that I was just reading it and that I wasn't actually trying to understand what it was asking me. And then after the tutoring, I was like, okay, what is this question asking me? And I was able to like go with throughout all the answers and be like, nope, they mentioned nothing about that. Like that makes sense in my brain, but that's not what it's asking me.
Yeah, that happens a lot too. I've heard Dr. Pam say to like clients, especially and even while I was a client, she would say, they're not asking you what Jennifer Chavez thinks, they're not asking you what so and so thinks, they're asking you about the question. And a lot of students, because we're really smart people, we have trouble with that. We want to put ourselves in the question or think about the way our agency or the way we were taught by school is asking within that question, but that's not what the question is asking. So really sticking to the fact that it's a reading test is super helpful for a lot of clients. As far as like content, you just mentioned like it's a lot of stuff you have to know, which is so true. Schools don't really prepare us for what we need to know to pass this exam. So, like you, I found working with academic coaching as a client to be so helpful because it really got to like the crux of what school didn't go over. So, what were some of the areas of the NCE content that you found most challenging?
So mine was like the human growth and development and just like learning all the theorists and like deciphering between them because I would get them mixed up and confused. But then one thing that you told me was to just find one and focus on that one for a week and then the next one for another week. And that's like what truly helped me. But then also when we were studying together, you like linked it with my children and like things that were going on in my life. And that really truly helped me too.
Yeah, I find that to be like super helpful for most clients. Really like making it about us when we study. Finding those little mnemonic devices or tools that um are just they it's meaning making and it makes it easier to like recall when you're in tests and you have that anxiety going. You just think about like little tips like the Janet Jackson pleasure principle that Dr. Pam always uses. I believe when we were talking about Erickson, you and I, we talked about the stages as it pertains to your little girls because your little girls are younger. So you were able to make that link or connection between the trust versus mistrust and the autonomy versus shame and doubt. So yeah, using little mnemonic devices and tools, as well as like some things like Pocket Prep and the big post-it notes and recording your voice and listening to the information really helps with getting that content to seek in because it is a whole lot of information, a whole lot of information. So you mentioned your daughters, right?
Yes,
Um, and you work, if I recall correctly.
yes.
Yeah. So how did you find your time management and study? Like how were you able to like balance all those things as a working mom and full-time student working mom and student?
So I'm not gonna lie, it was hard, and some days were harder than others. But morning before they would get up, lunchtime, and then evening after they would go to bed. Like at nighttime when I would usually like use the time for myself, I used it for the test because this is something that I truly wanted. So I just had to alter between like the things that brought me pleasure to this. This is what I really truly wanted. So I just had to change my state of mind and work harder.
Yes, I hear that. It was something that you wanted. Really, it sticks out for me because I recall the first day we met, you when you went over your introduction, which I do with all the clients that I see. You went over and you said, "I want my daughters to see that I am doing something, something great." And I thought that was like such a beautiful like sentiment. And when we have like Bandora says, when we have these things that these self-reinforcers and self-efficacy, because that's kind of where it's like rooted, we are able to see success. We tend to push ourselves more. And once we start pushing ourselves more and we realize that our full selves and our abilities, we see success. So I love that yours was rooted in your daughter seeing you be successful. Since passing your exam, have you been able to spend more time with your little ones? Do they still have to listen to, or they still talk about like possibly Dr. Pam or whatever the content or videos you were watching, or
Oh, definitely. And it's like my little girl's like, you don't have to study. You don't have to study. No, like I don't have to study. Let's go have some fun.
love that, love that. It's a weight. It really is like a weight being lifted off of you once you pass this exam.
100,
Um, Go ahead.
100% it is.
Yeah. Um, for what do you do for work? I can't recall off the top of my head, but what do you do for work?
So it's case management services, QBHP. I just work in the schools with kiddos and help them with different tools and stuff to help them be successful.
Awesome. That's so great to hear. So some of the things you learned in coaching, hopefully you're able to like transfer that into your work. Now that you are, because you are in Kentucky. Were you in Kentucky? I'm trying to
Ark-
recall. Where?
Arkansas.
Arkansas. Okay. So now that you have the exam, how does like the career field look? Are you trying to stay with working with the kiddos? Are you trying to branch out into private practice? What is that looking like for you?
So I recently just accepted a offer with a company. I'm going to be working at Pinnacle Point. So I'll be working with kiddos and some adults, which is
Woo!
perfect because that's what I wanted.
Yay, good. Yay. Okay, what will you be doing at that capacity?
So I'll primarily be a therapist in the office, but I will be going into schools as well.
Nice. Are you going to see a pay increase if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, yes, ma'am, for sure.
Oh, period. I love it. That's the best part. That is part of, I always say, and I ask that question to most of the people that I do podcasts with. I always say we are heart workers, HEART, but at the end of the day, we have to survive. We have to pay bills. We have big girl and big boy things to do in the world. So celebrate the fact that this exam was a hurdle you got over, and now it's opening doors for you that you would have not had access to had you not passed this exam. So I'm so happy that this is opened up a new level of Heather, a new level of Heather, the LPCA or LPC, depending on Arkansas's laws. But I'm happy that you're on to bigger and greater things. Last question for you, Miss Heather. Do you have any tips or any advice you can give to a test taker who recently passed it or recently didn't pass the exam or um, is in the process of studying? Do you have any tips or tricks for a test taker?
Oh, definitely. Especially for those that have failed. Failing doesn't define like your future or your ability to pass in the future. You will pass this test, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to get those extra resources. Um, Most of the time we're not trained to take those tests. Just like Dr. Pam would say, we're not like it became so easy to us and then it wasn't, and it's so disappointing, but you can do it. And it's just going to take that extra commitment from yourself. And what does that commitment look like for you? What can you change in your life to make it where you're going to pass this test? And sometimes that's taking away things that you enjoy. And another thing that I will say that I use to help me study, and this may seem crazy to some, is ChatGPT. I would ask it to some questions or to go over theorists and help me find ways to remember those theorists or remember key definitions. And that really truly helped me in my studying.
Thank you for that. I actually now, even though it might put me out of a job in the future, I actually now tell clients like ChatGPT is your friend. Not only does it, especially for the NCE, not only can you create like questions to, boost your confidence, because remember, questions aren't really studying. You can create questions that are specific to the content area you're in, and you can design it or design ChatGPT to put out questions that come with explanations as to why it's right and why it's wrong. It, like you said, can create these mnemonic devices that are like simplified to help you or help clients remember the information. ChatGPT really is that girl or that system. So I do recommend it to clients as a means to study. But also, I think too, sticking with that Hellwig book,
Yeah,
because go ahead.
Yes, I love the questions within the book. Like it was really like targeted. I would say the questions were very similar.
Mhm. Similar to what we see on the NCE.
Yes.
As well as the pocket prep too. The pocket prep questions are written based off of the Hellwig book. So they all kind of work in tandem to help people just remember that information because school just did not do that for us.
No.
Um, so thank you so much for your time, Heather. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. I'm happy your girls are able to um, have more time with you and to spend time with one another. And I look forward to seeing all the great things that you will be doing in the future.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you got to be a part of this journey with me and that I'm here today.
No problem. No problem. Well, thank you guys for listening. Tune in. I've had a bunch of pastors in the past couple weeks. I'm trying to fit them all in to do podcasts as a reminder that we are able to achieve all things through believing in ourselves and putting in that extra effort, as my guest Heather today said. So I will see you next time.